Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are breaking down the Los Angeles Chargers 2024 draft. It was a fun weekend. It was great seeing all the teams select, and the Chargers, I think, had a very interesting draft. So we're going to break it down here. But first, if you haven't already, go ahead and like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified when new videos come out about the Los Angeles Chargers. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season, so any and all help is greatly appreciated. Ryan, pull the slides up here. The Chargers got a generational left tackle spot. Justin Herbert's not going to have to worry about that. His blind side probably for the rest of his career. Dude's just an absolute beast. And so we were saying all offseason, I still feel this way, that they probably should have gotten Malik Neighbors or go get a receiver here. But I think the way that they organize their draft and how they prioritize the draft, I think made up for it. Where actually I can see totally worth it here with Joe Alt. You move Rashawn Slater, or you just figure it out with Rashawn Slater. You know, if he's more right tackle, if you want to kick him in the guard, or do whatever. But get Joe Alt here. I just think thinking about it more. I remember in the moment I was like, I don't know about this, but he's a great player. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just, you're trying to figure out the team need. But I can also understand just the best player available. He's the best player available on the board after Marvin Harrison Jr. went off.
Yeah, and that's I have a couple gripes with this pick, and if you follow this channel, you know how much I actually love Joe Alt. But for me, if I'm the Chargers, you have the worst receiving room in the league, and you have a chance to go get a absolute game-changing guy in Malik Neighbors, or even Rome Odunze if that's your flavor. And I just think I don't want to say it was a waste of a pick because you got a really great tackle, but it's a redundancy that you already have on your roster in Rashawn Slater. That's my only gripe with this pick. And like, I really like the player. This is exactly where he should go in terms of like draft pick wise. It's hard for me to watch Joe Alt go to a place where he's going to have to move over to the right side, or the left tackle that's there is going to have to move over to the right side, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but that would be like a right-handed person having to write left-handed. Like you're doing everything backwards, and I don't like it. I also don't necessarily think it is like a personality fit. Joe Alt is not like this big nasty tackle. He has a lot of nuance and like finesse to his game. Whereas like you look at like JC Latham, and he's the tackle that's going to run you over and then slam your face in the ground like that. And that's just not Joe Alt to me. And so those seem to be the tackles that Jim Harbaugh prefers. But anyways, he is the best player available. The situation is not what I would have preferred for him.
I would have gone receiver if I'm the GM.
Yeah.
But I totally get why they go with Joe Alt. I mean, the dude's just an absolute physical freak. And I think one of the things as well, I think that they had struggled with, and now it's unique as well, just kind of with their running back situation, like moving on from Austin Eckler and everything in general. But they have some good young running backs. They even drafted one here late in the day 3 round. But I think just establishing a dominant offensive line, and I think it's a good problem to have if you have two really good tackles in Rashawn Slater and then now in Joe Alt. I think you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and start building from there. Because the big thing is you got to protect Justin Herbert now, who has been dealing with some injuries during his time there. I also think, too, trying to get better in the trenches, that's where like teams with great offensive lines and great defensive lines normally have pretty good seasons pretty consistently. And so I think you're building out from there. And this is definitely a rebuilding year for the Chargers as well. And so I think they could be competitive with the right coaching and with the right situations that fall. And maybe they can make a push for the playoffs. But I think also Harbaugh is also then looking to how he wants to set his team up over these next couple of years. So I think you go and get your left tackle there. Don't even think about it. As a Falcons fan, Jake Matthews, he's not the best left tackle in the league, but he's top 10, I would say. And it's going through this draft process even now is thinking about like, should we start trying to get a left tackle here? You know, like prepare for when Jake Matthews is gone, because he's been there for 14 years. You just kind of forget about it, but he's just solid every single week. You know, so I think getting Joe Alt here, Chargers fans now, they don't have to worry about the left tackle spot on paper, you know, for the next 15 years. So I think here it's a position that's top dollar. I don't think you have to worry about it moving forward. But
and I understand that aspect of it. Maybe I'm just being, I don't know, like overly picky.
it's all good.
It's just weird, like a weird fit to me. So anyways,
Yeah.
let's move on now to their second round pick, who they actually traded up for. That's going to be Lad McConkey, the wide receiver from Georgia. 5'11", I think 185, very nuanced route runner, has good top end speed as well to take the top off of defenses. Struggled a little bit with injuries at Georgia. I think he only played in 6 games, caught about 400 and something yards for, I believe, about a touchdown a game. But when healthy and on the field, very good compliment, I think, to Quentin Johnston, who they spent a first round pick on last year. But definitely probably one of the best route runners in this class.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason too. Going back to the Joe Alt debate, but it's like that's why I think you take him there, knowing that like, well, shoot, there were 4 receivers. I think it was 4 receivers in a row: Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Leggett, Keon Coleman, and then Lad McConkey as well. So they got a stud receiver still, and Lad's going to be a guy I think Herbert can really lean on, because you're going to have Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer on the outside. And Lad McConkey is going to be a guy that you can just go and move around. Quentin Johnson could even move inside also too. You have a lot of fun as well. So I think this is a guy, Justin Herbert, and how accurate he is. He's one of the top 5 QBs in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That Lad McConkey, I think he can just really rely on him. I'm in my dynasty league. I instantly pencil it in because I have Justin Herbert and being like, okay, maybe we want to see where Lad McConkey's at kind of as the draft goes on, because I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. I think you did bring up already, though, but just some injury concerns. I have to make sure that he's healthy, but I think he's going to be fine. I think this is a good fit. I think for what the Chargers are looking for overall. And so, let's move on though now to their third pick. Jim Harbaugh ended up getting one of his former players here, Junior Colson, linebacker here. I like this pick a lot. There's a lot of talk about what the Chargers would do in the offseason due to their cap space, who would move on. They ended up deciding to keep Joey Bosa and also Khalil Mack as well. So I think you go get Junior Colson here, a nice big linebacker as well. Jim Harbaugh knows him well. I think he's going to help out a lot in the front 7 here, just improving this defense really just as a whole, both passing and run defense.
Yeah. And a versatile guy. I would say better coming downhill, but can play in pass protection as well. Or not pass protection, that he's not an offensive lineman, in pass coverage as well. And so I like a good defender. This is about where he was expected to go. So I think this is just a good pick.
I like it. Yep.
Let's move on to their day 3 picks. They had 6 day 3 picks, where Justin Aboigbe, the defensive tackle from Alabama, very active hands, maybe a slightly undersized defensive tackle, but I think he's going to fit in well out there in Los Angeles. And then 2 corners going back to back, Tarheeb Still and then Cam Hart. Both guys, I think, are good in man coverage and can be sticky. They just didn't have top end athletic testing, from what I remember about these guys, specifically Cam Hart, who's going to be a bigger outside guy, just not with top end speed.
I still think here with what they've done with these past 4 picks, going back to Junior Colson now, address each level of the defense. Justin Aboigbe is going to help out a lot. In that run defense, as you mentioned. And I think his secondary was kind of a sneaky need for them. And I know they waited till day 3, but I think they got much necessary needs in rounds 1, 2, and 3, to where I think it was okay. And I think they got good value here early on in day 3. These next 3 picks, I do like these picks. Committee Vidal, Brendan Rice, and also Cornelius Johnson as well. Just getting more skill position players in there. And so, yes, they're late day 3, but we've seen a lot of these guys pan out, especially on the offensive side in the right situation.
Yeah, Brendan Rice, I think specifically, a lot of people had him graded out as a day 2 pick, and why he fell this far, we still don't really know. But I mean, he's 6'3", 215 pounds, good athlete, right? Mm-hmm. Like, comes from a good bloodline. So I think that's going to be a good pick to invest in there. So let's go ahead and get into our grades here really quick. And I'm going to get a lot of hate for mine. I have them with a C+. You have them with a B+. Why did you go here with a B+?
I think honestly it's probably just because not probably. It's just because I would have gone Malik Neighbors first. I think he's more of a sure thing than Lad McConkey or than some of the other skill position players. That's probably the route that I would have gone.
Yeah.
And so you still go and get Joe Alt, and I think they'll absolutely figure out the stuff on the offensive line. I think the biggest thing is you still just need weapons to throw to, and I still think there's some question marks in there. I love Ladd. They got Brendan Rice, and then they also got Cornelius Johnson as well. They still have Quentin Johnson from last year's draft also. There's still just question marks over those guys. Yes, Malik Neighbors, nothing's a sure thing, or Roma Dunze, but I think there's much less question marks, I think, on those guys' performance on the field that would have helped out this offense. And then to your point, what you were saying is you already still had Rashawn Slater. You still had, honestly, a pretty good offensive line when healthy. The biggest thing was just that the past couple of years they've just been getting banged up. So
Yeah.
I'm all for the Joe Alt pick. Then you have Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater as well. You'll figure it out. It's a good problem to have. I think that just knocks a little bit of points on me because there's still some questions, I think, in the playmaking pass catching department.
Yeah, and so for me, I gave them a C plus, which is a below average grade for me, and that hurts because I was so high on Joe Alt. I just don't like if Rashawn Slater is there and he's going to stay at left tackle, and then that means Joe Alt has to go to the right side, and Joe Alt is probably a better left tackle. Rashawn Slater could go to the other side, in which case I would be more okay with this draft. But I still think the redundancy there, especially when you have such a prime pick to go and address address a need with a premier pass catcher. I think that's my reasoning. Is I just think that's I don't want to say ignorant for how the game has evolved, but you have to have premier pass catchers. Like even with the Chiefs, even them, this offense really struggled this year. And Travis Kelce, I would still put in the category of a premier pass catcher.
Yeah.
So, to be competitive, you have to have one of those guys, and they just don't right now.
Yeah, and I understand the criticism. I still think that you go look at Joe Alt, and that's where it's higher for me. That's why it's still above average.
Yeah.
It's still got. You can make an argument the second best prospect, or maybe even the best prospect in this class. If you're just going based off pure talent, like between him, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Caleb Williams. It's so they created a great problem for themselves by getting Joe Alt, and then I still think they got a lot of receivers as well. Go look at Green Bay. How many undrafted free agents did they have last year? Or guys you never even heard of, and they're in that offensive system. Yeah. All these guys are scoring touchdowns, or 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. So there are some diamonds in the rough still on the receiving side as well that you can go and find. I think there's still a lot of question marks, still a huge risk, bigger risk in my opinion than Malik Neighbors. So you go get Joe Alt. Also, too, I think Joe Alt's going to be left tackle. I think they're going to tell Rashawn Slater, hey, you're still in your rookie contract. We're going to move you over.
Yeah, right I will also say Rashawn Slater, I think, is going into a contract here. So, you're talking me into maybe bumping it up to a B minus, and so that's kind of the the feeling there because I still just think you needed a premier pass catcher. You have an elite quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think you need to surround him with weapons, and they did. It's just they did it with 2 7th round picks and I guess the 34th pick and then 2 7th round picks as well. So. But let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Los Angeles Chargers 2024 draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And that we'll see you guys next time.